Good evening, and welcome to the Morris K. Udall Awards Dinner of the Parkinson's Action Network. My name's Jim Scott, and I'm a member of the Dinner Steering Committee. I volunteered for this event because as someone who works in public policy, I know the value of PAN. Through their work, they shape laws, lives, and our collective future. And as such, I want to ensure the success of their efforts. That's why I'm excited to be helping them this year by raising critical funds to continue their vital mission. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for attending this evening. My name is Jeff Strunk, and I too am on the Dinner Steering Committee. I think that all of us have had people that have had a profound effect on our lives. Dave and Linda Armstrong had that effect on me. Dave Armstrong, or Coach as I still call him, guided me through my years in college. His wife Linda became a very close friend during that time. When I found out about Linda's diagnosis, I knew I wanted to help. I chose to support PAN because through its advocacy and public efforts, they're working for better treatments and a cure, and they're making a difference. Linda and Dave are my guests this evening, so please stop by at our table so I can introduce you. Thank you all for your support.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Lawrence Vaca, and I am thankful for all of you taking part in this wonderful event tonight. I'm the third and final member of tonight's steering committee, and like many of you, I'm here tonight because someone I love has Parkinson's. My mother-in-law, Dr. Farah Vaca, was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2009, but like everything else in her life, she's facing the disease with strength, grace, and a really biting sense of humor. Farah came to this country from Ecuador in 1962, and in 1965, she married Ramiro Vaca, also an immigrant from Ecuador. They developed an equal partnership that's lasted for 50 years. Ramiro put Farah through dental school at UCLA before he had a chance to go to school himself, so she'd be able to practice in the United States. Over the course of 30 years, they've raised 4 wonderful boys, while she opened and ran 3 dental offices in LA County, California, and was the primary family breadwinner. Now, for those of you that understand Latin American culture, Farah and Ramiro were ahead of their time, and they still are. Like everything else in this life, they're facing her Parkinson's diagnosis together. My mother-in-law faces every day with tremendous courage and a positive attitude. She is an inspiration to me and our family and everyone who knows her. During my involvement with PAN, I've already come to meet many people who've had loved ones that have been diagnosed or who have lost their battle with Parkinson's. When I told my boss, the Honorable Buck McKeon, about my involvement with PAN, he shared with me that his late father, Howard P. McKeon, had lost his battle to Parkinson's along with his uncle, Boyd McKeon. I'm incredibly grateful for the chairman and his family for being here tonight to support PAN. However, through PAN, I've also met people that give my mother-in-law and my family hope. I recently met Dr. Zachary Levine, who renewed my optimism in DBS surgery for Farah, and I'm grateful to people like Robin Katsaros for sharing her family's story with me. As I look around this room tonight, we're all here supporting PAN because someone we love has been affected by Parkinson's. For me, that someone is Farah Vaca. Tonight, I'm here to honor her, and thanks to all of you for being here tonight to support people like my mother-in-law. And thank you to PAN for advocating on behalf of the over 1 million people in the United States living with Parkinson's disease. Thank you so much, and I hope everyone has a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Jim, Jeff, and Jessica, for your commitment and for being here tonight and helping to lead a successful Udall dinner. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to talk about the dinner, but feel free to start eating your salads and bread. As many of you know, well, let me first introduce myself. For those who don't know, I am Ted Thompson. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Parkinson's Action Network, and I've been, thank you. Thank you. I've been here just a little bit over a year. It's been a fun and interesting year. I met a ton of great people, and I'm excited to be here again tonight. We have a wonderful program. As many of you know, PAN is a national nonprofit that serves as the unified voice of the Parkinson's community on federal issues. But rather than having me run through the accomplishments for the year, I'm going to point you to the program book. It's got a list of some high-level accomplishments, and you can go to our website and read all sorts of great detail. So in other words, I'm not going to bore you with that. What I'm going to do is just tell you a little bit about what PAN is, rather not what PAN does, but what PAN is. You know, at its heart, PAN is a national network of passionate people focused on finding new therapies and a cure, ultimately, for Parkinson's. Every day we work to ensure that the voice of people with Parkinson's is active in the federal government. We all have different ideas about the power of advocacy, but here's a quick story that I hope will describe it for you. I want to tell you about Chuck from Massachusetts. When Chuck was diagnosed with Parkinson's and stopped working, it was really hard on him, like it is on a lot of people with the disease. He did what many people do once diagnosed. They go online and look for a community. He found PAN and quickly became an assistant state director in Massachusetts. In his initial meetings with congressional staff, he was impressed by how much of an impact his personal story had on them, some of whom had never met a person with Parkinson's disease. And this is a quote. He said, "For them to hear our personal stories and to see our pain, I think that's the important piece." Tuesday of this week, I was on Facebook, and I follow several Parkinson's groups, and he made a post. Very simply, he said, "Because of PAN, I have purpose again. I'm not depressed. And I don't know what the future holds, but thanks to all of you, it looks bright." So that speaks to who PAN is. It's a passionate group of people around the country. It's us in DC doing the work here, but it's about all of those advocates. So you're all part of that, and by being here, you've committed your funds, your time, and yourselves to ensure that PAN continues into 2016. By the way, next year will mark our 25th year, and because of your support, we will have a good, clear path to the future. And again, with your help tonight, we hope to find better treatments and ultimately a cure. And of course, next year is our 25th anniversary, and our ultimate goal is to never have another anniversary, so that's what we're all here about. So with that, we're going to start the awards, but first I want to recognize Congressman Gus Bilirakis of Florida, who's with us in the room. Congressman Bilirakis is the newest co-chair of the Congressional Caucus on Parkinson's Disease, and he too has a personal connection to Parkinson's. We appreciate his leadership role on our caucus and the good work that he does. Additionally, Representative Chris Van Hollen couldn't be here tonight, and he's a prior Udall Awards winner, but he is the lead Democrat on a core piece of legislation that we've been working on for years with him and Congressman Burgess. And I wanted to recognize Ziki Ababia, who is here from his staff. So thank you for being here. With that, David. David Higgins is about to join me. He is the vice chair of the PAN Board of Directors and an assistant state director in California. He is a molecular biologist and geneticist by training. So David's perspective on Parkinson's disease is a little bit different than a lot of people's. He was diagnosed in 2011 and since then has become an active member of the PAN community, the Grassroots Leader Program, and he was just elected vice chair of the board earlier today. We're grateful for David's efforts, and it's my pleasure to have him here tonight to help us to introduce the recipients of this year's Morris K. Udall Awards.
I'd like to add my thanks for everyone for being here tonight. I'm not much of a public speaker, so when Ted asked me to do this, I thought, oh, I don't know if I'm the right person. He said, but Francis will be there. I said, Francis? I thought he was there last week. I gather it's a different pope. In all seriousness, I have the pleasure this evening of introducing to you three esteemed members of the U.S. House of Representatives to receive the 2015 Morris K. Udall Award for Public Service. Among many of their accomplishments, these three members of Congress have spearheaded the passing of the 21st Century Cures Act in the House, with the inclusion, important to this group, of the Advancing Research for Neurological Diseases Act, also known as H.R. 292. That's jargon, but we'll get to more details in a moment. But first, I'd like to invite Representative Michael Burgess, who is a physician and from Texas, who, along with 2011 Udall Award recipient Chris Van Hollen, who you've already heard about, introduced H.R. 292 earlier this year. This piece of legislation will create a data collection system for Parkinson's disease at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. This data collection system will allow researchers to access much more data than ever before. As a researcher, I can tell you how valuable this is. Information would be to getting us closer to better treatments and ultimately a cure. It's amazing how little we actually know about the demographics of the Parkinson's community in the United States. We would not only understand basic information such as how people have Parkinson's, but where do they live? What brought them to where they are today? We'd also be able to learn more about disease burden, changes in healthcare practices, and assess the future of healthcare needs in the community. Without Dr. Burgess, it's hard to see how this critical piece of legislation would have ever made it into the larger 21st Century Cures package to begin with. Legislation is a complex, detailed, expert-only kind of process, and this man is here for us. Dr. Burgess is a member He's also a member of the Congressional Caucus on Parkinson's Disease and has fought for Parkinson's issues in the past, including reform in Medicare and the Food and Drug Administration. So please join me in congratulating and welcoming Dr. Burgess to the stage to accept this word.
Okay. Get a picture with you.
Well, thank you. This was really a surprise for me to hear about the award this evening. It's obviously a great pleasure to be with you. You're the activists. It's your commitment, your generosity that makes so many things possible in the research and treatment for individuals with Parkinson's. I feel like I'm one of the most fortunate members of Congress. I get to serve on the Energy and Commerce Committee. When everything else seems to be going wrong in Congress, when we're faced with divided government, the Energy and Commerce Committee gets it done. Major Medicare reform earlier this year, and then, as you already heard earlier, the 21st Century Cures Bill passed the floor of the House with a big vote in the middle of July, and now it's on to the Senate to keep getting our work done. All along that process, H.R. 292 has been one of those things that you keep pushing and you keep pushing and you're irritating to the right people, and before you know it, you're finally in a place where you actually have the possibility of accomplishing something. So I am very grateful to Chris Van Hollen, my co-sponsor and co-worker with the bill. The Cures Initiative, of course, takes in so many aspects of the future of medical research. I like to point out to people that when I talk to groups of young physicians, you know, they won't even have to know how to spell SGR in the future because we took care of that. But they will want to know. They will want to know, are we going to have the tools? Are we going to have the ability to alleviate suffering for our patients in the future? Because of the Cures Bill, that's closer to reality than it ever was before. Thank you very much.
It does give you hope to have Congress members such as Dr. Burgess. Now for our next awardee, Representative Diane DeGette from Colorado. Is Congressmember DeGette? Come on up. As a member of the House Energy and Commerce Committee, Representative DeGette teamed up with Chairman Fred Upton in leading the charge to pass the 21st Century's Cure Act. Now that I've mentioned that a few times, let me tell you a little bit more about it. The 21st Century Cures Act passed by an overwhelming bipartisan support in July and includes various initiatives to accelerate innovation to end diseases that affect the American people. It's a very broad, comprehensive approach. Through this act, funding will increase at the National Institutes of Health. That's a good thing. Patients will have more of a voice in drug development than ever before, and regulations for clinical trials will be streamlined. These are all dreams of the scientific community. And there's so much more. And this is such an exciting time to be working in research, and we owe a debt of gratitude to people like Representative DeGette for her leadership. Like Dr. Burgess, the Congresswoman is also a member of the Congressional Caucus on Parkinson's Disease. So without further ado, please join me in congratulating and welcoming to the stage Representative Diane DeGette.
Slide into the middle again. Yeah, you can. With the
Thank you so much for this beautiful award. I feel a little lonely up here on the stage without my compadre, Fred Upton, who will be coming up right after me, because this really was a bipartisan effort. And Congressman Burgess, who has done so much for Parkinson's and so many other disease advocacy groups, is also a key partner of ours. Congressman Burgess and I introduced legislation just today to fix the way we do scoring at the Congressional Budget Office to reward bills that save money, not just bills that spend a lot of money trying to treat diseases. And we hope that that will be a partner to this very broad 21st century cures legislation, which expedites cures it expedites research at the NIH for diseases like Parkinson's, and then it expedites the approval at the Food and Drug Administration. And Fred and I are most proud of the Innovation Fund, which gives over $8.5 billion for research for diseases that don't have cures like Parkinson's. I just can't resist with a whole group of advocates sitting here. The bill is now in the Senate. The Senate has its own process, which is going quite well. And so Fred and I would like to ask you to please contact your senators and make sure that they pass the companion Senate bill as quickly as possible so that we can start getting these cures to the patients. I want to add a personal note, if I may. I talked about this one day in one of our committee hearings on cures. I sing in my church choir back in Denver. I've sung in that choir now for almost 15 years. And up until last spring, the choir was led by a brilliant, brilliant composer, choir master, and organist, John Kuzma. About 3 or 4 years ago, John was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And this whole choir, 100 people, worked with him all these years so that he could work through the disabilities and the cruel techniques that Parkinson's took away from him. We were so sorry when, much too early, he was forced to retire last spring. And I've rededicated myself to make sure that that doesn't happen to any other talented musician or anybody else in this country, that we find a cure for Parkinson's, and I hope we can help you do it before the 25th anniversary, so you truly do not need to have any more of these dinners. Thank you so much.
So as you can see in Representative DeGette's case, and in many of those in this room, it's a personal connection that plays an important role. So for our final Udall recipient we have Representative Fred Upton of Michigan. Mr. Representative Upton is the chairman of the House Energy and Conference Committee, in addition to being the recipient of the same award in 1997, which is a long time ago. Chairman Upton is credited as co-leading the effort to pass the groundbreaking 21st Century Cures Act that you've already heard so much about. He successfully worked across the aisle and has done so for the Parkinson's community many times in the past, including with the passage of the Morris K. Udall Parkinson's Research Act in 1997. He is a founding member of the Congressional Caucus on Parkinson's Disease and played a significant role in doubling the NIH budget between 1998 and 2003. We are grateful to the chairman's many contributions to the people with Parkinson's. And with that, please join me in welcoming Chairman Upton to the stage to accept the Udall Award.
Well, thank you so much. I know, for those of you that were here in '97, I look just the same. Actually, Fred Barnes, who's now my neighbor, and I received the award the same day, and Mort Kondracki was part of that process. I, too, want to thank my colleagues. I'll tell you, Diana DeGette, what a partner she has been. She's been to my district, I've been to hers. We've been all over the place listening to try and to get this H.R. 6, 21st Century Cures, done the best way that we could. And I'll tell you, the partners that we had on our committee, and Gus Bilirakis has now joined us, and certainly Dr. Burgess, just awesome people in terms of offering solid proposals to make our bill even stronger. Now, when I got the award in '97, we had just, in fact, doubled the money for the NIH, and I was here last year when Henry Waxman received this great award, and it was the Upton-Waxman effort then, in fact, partnering with John McCain and Paul Wellstone in the Senate to get it done, and great impact. And we know, and when I was here last year, you might remember Diane Rehm interviewed me here on the stage, and I talked a lot about the process and what we were going to do to get this bill done. And it was a great victory when we received some 344 votes in the House to get it done on a bipartisan basis. And as Diana said, now is the time, particularly with all of you here, to really weigh in with your two senators to get the bill across to second base so that we can get to the conference and get it to the president, where I think he will sign it. Now, Pan did an outstanding job as we worked with all of the different advocacy groups for so many different diseases that need cures. Pan was there every step of the way, and they helped us call their member of Congress in their respective districts to make sure that we could beat the poison pill amendments that were offered in our path, and obviously be able to get us a strong vote at the end of the day in terms of final passage. A lot of people to thank. The leadership on both sides, Nancy Pelosi, Frank Pallone, the ranking member of the committee, but John Boehner, Kevin McCarthy, Steve Scalise, Kathy McMorris Rogers, all members of our leadership really pitched in to make sure that we got the votes that got it done. So I want to say in particular, too, we really thank Francis Collins, who we're going to be able to hear from one-on-one in a little interview that he's going to do with Mort Kondracki here in a few minutes. Francis was wonderful. He helped point out a lot of the problems that have blocked the approval of drugs and devices, and we know that with his master's touch, he'll be able to administrate this new innovation fund that we have protected from sequestration and budget cuts. It's going to be there. Diana and I are hopeful that we can get it back up to the $10 billion where we were over 5 years, which was the original number from 8.75. But we're going to find the cures. So we're not only going to find the cures, but by taking this process that we identified, we're going to lower the cost of drugs to patients in need. So it's a win-win. Thank you all. Thanks so much. Did Mike leave? He was, yeah. We're going to do one quick other picture. Mike Burgess had to catch a flight already back to Texas. So, right up to.
We feel funny getting these awards just by ourselves because we're such a team.
Terrific. Yeah, please join me in congratulating all three of our recipients tonight. We're so grateful for all they do for the Parkinson's community. So please enjoy your dinners now. We will resume the program in about a half an hour with the interviews. So thank you.